What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm here this week with Scott and Pedro. What's good, guys?
What's up? Excited. New season of The Last of Us. Lots to talk about. Scott, what's for dinner?
I really appreciate that every time Bruno introduces us, he always goes, "What's good?" He never says, "What's bad?"
I want to know what's happening. I want to know the positive stuff, Scott.
Well,
First,
luckily-
what's for
luckily-
dinner, Scott? First of all,
What's
Are you having dinner right now? Pedro, you're the one chewing on that on those noodles over there. I see you.
I'm having some Panda Express, but I'd like to know what Scott's having.
Hold on a second. You asked me what I wanted, and why did you sneak in what you were having? I thought you wanted to know what I was having. But anyway,
Bruno was curious about the noodles.
I know. I was curious. I was also curious what you were having, so I'm glad you shared. I'm having sweet and salty kettle corn. That's not dinner. That's the pre-snack appetizer to the dinner.
What's the
Pre-dinner
dinner?
snack.
We'll be right back after this commercial break.
What's on the menu tonight?
Do we have a sponsor? Oh wait, we're not up to that point yet. No. What's for dinner? I don't know. I'm workshop. I'm going to be shopping it as we are doing the show because I was more focused on the show than I was to have dinner. It's still early, you know.
Yeah.
There's still time.
Today on the show, we're going to talk about the return of Black Mirror. We're going to talk about the return of The Last of Us. Yeah, Last of Us premiered last night. I think it was gone for about a year. So it's good that the show is back. It really picks up right where the other... it picks up exactly where season one left off with Ellie kind of confronting Joel about what just happened while she was asleep and why they left the Fireflies in such a hurry. And where were they headed to next? And he assures her that that everything kind of worked out and they had to leave. He basically pretends to have saved her life. And then it cuts to 5 years later. They were in Wisconsin in what's his brother's name? Tommy?
Wyoming.
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 So they're in like this little town commune that is kind of popping. They got like parties over there. They got roof builders and laying pipe.
Theaters, everything.
A theater, abundance of food. People like, they've been there for a while when people already got like ex-boyfriends and stuff like that. So it's a pretty good community, thriving community. They seem to have a problem of, not having enough homes for people to stay. People keep coming to the door for seeking shelter and safe from the horrible, dangerous outside world. That's kind of weird.
They seem a little too comfortable.
They're a little cozy, right? They're a little cozy.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we're just gonna go on a little joyride. We're just gonna go out there and shoot a couple of those creatures, and it's just for the fun of it. We're just gonna monitor the border, and all is fine. It's just
There, to that point, there was a little bit like we've conquered the jungle kind of vibe from Ellie and Dina when they kind of, and that's something that I didn't leave a great impression on me was Ellie not really taking the dangers of the outside world very serious throughout the episodes, especially considering everything that she went through in the first season. She was certainly more exposed to the horrors of the world than a lot of other characters. So for her to just be kind of like joking around, not taking these runs that serious, goofing off, disrespecting, other people in her group. I didn't feel like that kind of makes sense for that character.
Is that how she's portrayed in the video game? I guess this is the sequel to the video game part 2.
Yeah, no, she's not portrayed like that in the game at all. So there's two sides to Ellie here. There's the side that's like very cold to Joel. That's very
childish, very like adolescent, teenage, almost like rebelling. And then the other side, like you said, where we're expected to understand that she's like a hardened veteran of this evil world,
Yeah, and there's a weird balance here with that. She is a veteran of the world in a way, but she's also struggling with the fact that, I'm pretty sure she knows that Joel lied to her about what happened with the Fireflies in season 1, and that's why she's very cold to him. They haven't had that.
I think that pause, it's something that stood out in that scene where she asked. That was the end of the very last scene of the season 1 finale,
Yeah.
where she asks if anything happened, and he said no, and then she pauses and it stays on her, and then she says okay, and like the season just ends there.
Yeah, and that's how
I'm glad you pointed that out, because that kind of helped me understand that.
That's the launch pad for season 2.
I didn't realize that actually the first, I think, Bruno, you mentioned that it's probably been about a year. The first episode of season 1 premiered on January 15, 2023. So it's actually been over 2 years.
Oh, wow.
2 years, yeah. 2 years.
The first episode. It does feel like it's been a while.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But not 5
2
years.
years between the
Not
premieres.
5 years, but over 2 years. As
Yeah.
far as the way the show's playing out.
What did you guys make of the introduction of Abby's character? So the show opens with Abby mourning the death of the people that Joel killed at the end of season 1. She's with her crew, and they're kind of sort of vowing to go out and kill this guy.
I was sort of confused.
Me too.
I don't know who this character is. It's the first time they're showing her. I don't know who the people are that got killed that she's so close to. So I'm just confused as to why she's so angry, who these people are, and what they were to her.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you agree with that, Scott?
I got the feeling that since they showed that and then they went 5 years later, I get the sense that there's going to be some flashbacks here, because there's obviously a point while they showed something and then fast forwarded 5 years. They're probably going to go back eventually in another episode.
So that character, this was a little bit different than what they do in the game, and I think it's because they want to try to approach it in a different way, because the game got a lot of backlash for what they did here. But so that character, we see her first, and then we see them at the end of the first episode 5 years later. They're approaching the Wyoming settlement, basically.
Yeah.
And they're out to kill Joel. So basically, these guys and that girl in particular, they're from the firefight camp that Joel murdered at the end of season 1.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So that's why. So they're going to be pretty prominent characters going forward. I won't spoil anything, but that's what that setup was about, is to create that.
Did they reference that? Did they say they were like Firefly members? Because I didn't catch that, but maybe like Scott said, it's something that's going to go more into detail and as flashback episodes or something.
Yeah, they might. I think they referenced it with the little Firefly pendants. They wear these kind of like those dog tags. But that's who those characters were. So expect the Wyoming gang and that gang to sort of catch up very soon, I would think. Yeah, the Joel and Ellie relationship is certainly strained, and I think that just points to her knowing now that Joel lied to her, and she may not know the full truth, but she knows that he is lying to her, and for whatever reason, they haven't really had the time to speak about it and put that behind them or make amends there or get a full understanding of what happened. But that is the central conflict. So the final actions of season 1 are going to be the central driving force for everything that happens this season, which is Joel killing everybody in that hospital. We're going to see the fallout of that, which should be cool. Just looking through my notes here, Joel's guilt, he's going to therapy. This is something that's obviously it's not in the game. But we get to see the actress again, man.
Yeah, she's on fire right now. Her agent's doing a great job.
O'Hara? Scott?
Yeah. Home Alone mom. It's popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
Now.
It's
No, I was surprised I saw her. I was like, wait, she's in this too?
Yeah. She's in this too. She's great. I'm trying to pull up her first name, but I'm horrible with people's names. But she's great. I'm on Catherine O'Hara. Yeah, she's great. So she's trying to get the truth out of out of Joel to sort of put him at peace through whatever pain he's going through. But it's revealed that Joel actually murdered her husband at some point.
This guy's killed everybody's like loved one at some point, and it's got me mad at him.
That's a lot of the reactions I've seen.
Like he's slowly becoming an antagonist. Like the last couple episodes of season 1 were kind of like building into that, just showing him like killing, without second thought or remorse. And it's like, yeah, you got to understand he's been through a lot of stuff, but like what he did to the Fireflies, man, that was
cold-blooded.
That was unforgivable. That was cold-blooded. And I'm to the point where I'm really interested in this Abby character and her crew, and I'm kind of rooting for them to raise hell.
Back to Catherine O'Hara. I'm curious, Bruno. What did you type into Google to find her name?
I typed in O'Hara, and then I got nothing. I mean, I got a lot of nothing, and I went back to IMDb to the cast.
I typed in Kevin's mom, Home Alone.
Okay. Did you get the character name or the actress?
I got Catherine O'Hara.
Okay.
It came up.
Yeah, Pedro, to your point about is this guy becoming the villain? I think what the show does well, and the game did this well too in the sequel, is play on this concept in video games where like you're the good guy with a gun and you just go around shooting whoever's in your way. But the show, and again, the sequel to the first video game, makes you think about who were those people that you killed, who got in your way. Who were they? They had friends, they had families, they had ambitions, they had kids and relationships. And so that's who Abby and her crew kind of represent. It's these type of characters who normally not even have names. They would just be, a body at the other end of a bullet. And the creators are exploring the idea of who these characters could be, what they represent, and then what are the consequences of Joel's actions here. I think in the first season, Joel loses his daughter very early in the show. He gets his daughter gets murdered. So when he establishes his bond with Ellie, she becomes his daughter, and he, is protective of her. And this was the cost at which he would do that. He would murder these people who were, trying to come up with a cure because Ellie is immune, and he picked Ellie over saving the world, kind of. But it's cool to see all of the dynamics kind of come together, and now we'll get to see how all that stuff play out in season 2. I did think the episode was a little boring. I'm not gonna lie. Like it was a bit of a lot of setup and a little bit slow for my taste.
It was long. It was a long episode too. It was over an hour, right?
I don't know. It may have been because it was a premiere. It may have been over an hour, but it was just a lot of introducing who this character is, how they're tied to that character, what's going on in the town, and then setting the stakes. Like, they found like the little clickers, like wiry thing through the pipe at the end. How like they connect through like the nerve or whatever it's called. I don't know what that's called. So it's setting up
that just means there's like fungus growing in there, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that implies that the camp is going to get attacked by the clickers, and it's going to be a huge war, probably very soon.
And another thing that was like obvious that they gave away was that this new character Dina is just a complete liability, and she's probably going to mess something up at the wrong time and cause all sorts of issues for Ellie.
I hate those characters. Not them individually, but that type of
character, yeah. And we mentioned it of 2 episodes, I believe it was, when we were reviewing Dope Fiend.
Yeah, same
Dope
guy.
Dope Thief, not Dope Fiend, Dope Thief, and the fool they brought on that robbery. But yeah, she's that type of character.
So the episode was an hour long, but I think what we're used to in the past episodes, there's a lot of movement where they're on the move. But in this first episode, they were pretty stationary. which I don't really necessarily foresee that be. I feel like something's going. Basically, if you haven't seen the episode, we pretty much have spoiled a few, which is okay, but because a lot happened that we're not even touching on. But it feels like there is going to be something that's going to happen that's monumental, that's going to ruin everything that they've built up.
Yep.
And I'm also curious how long it took for them to build this up, because it's 5 years into the future from what I guess when we were watching it before. So hopefully we'll see what got them to this point, because they've built up all these infrastructure that with in mind all of these creatures that they're trying to escape from.
Yeah, I think they visited the camp in the first season. He met up with his brother.
Yeah, they did.
And then they continued on to the hospital. So this was a place that they're familiar with. It was already established, but it certainly progressed since we last visited this little settlement. But yeah, it was a lot of setting stuff up, and not a ton of action other than when Dina and Ellie go into it looked like a grocery store or some type of grocery store, and they encounter the clicker and then the stalker. So that was the introduction of a new character that they also introduced in the games. The stalker characters are basically like new, more newly
smarter.
infected. Yeah, they haven't. So the infected, they kind of change over time as the infection kind of changes in their bodies. So those are like the more newly infected, where they still have some of their senses. They're a little bit smarter. The other ones are pretty brain dead. They're blind and they only hear, but these are not blind. And I think we might see this new type of monster, I'm hoping, called the Rat King. If they bring that guy out, that'll be nice. If they do, it'll be much.
The guy from Ninja
down the
Turtles?
road. Not the guy from Ninja Turtles. It's yeah, I won't spoil it. I don't even know if they're gonna bring out this monster.
You already did spoil it, Bruno. You're throwing out these names and things.
Well, we don't know. It's not. There's some things.
Yeah, you don't know what that means.
It's staying very true to the video game compared to other like franchises and IPs that have tried this stuff. But yeah, you don't know what they may leave out or what they may try to venture into. And do you think is this going to be like the wrap up season? It's going to be a 2-season show because we only have 2 games.
Yeah, there's only 2 games, and they're not making another one yet because the company that makes this game is actually making a brand new game. So usually these companies don't make these types of games in tandem just because they take so much money and resources. So I could see them splitting this season into 2 just because the game is so long and so big in scope that this season could be split.
So you think there's that much content for them to work with? Season 1 was fairly short. It was only 9 episodes.
Yeah, it was. And this one, I think they already renewed for season 3. I mean, and it wouldn't be, unfamiliar territory if they just sort of went away from, finished the game story and then just continued onto something else, kind of like, Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings. It happens. But I don't know that. Yeah, the second game is very, very long. Again, I won't spoil why, but I could see this maybe splitting it into 2 seasons to tell this story arc. But yeah, it's cool. I'm excited about this show. I love when they do video game stuff well. This game is kind of easy to do because it was a story first kind of game, and so it lends itself to television. But yeah, I'm pumped for this show. Pedro, I know last year you were slow coming on, the first season rather, you were slow coming on. I remember. How you feeling about this one?
Oh yeah, I actually just finished it this weekend. I had like 3 or 4 episodes to go that I just never bothered to continue with. Yeah, I'm liking it, man. I'm looking forward to it. You got me excited with all these. I'm not going to spoil this. So I'm just wondering like what's going to happen with this. But I feel like this is the type of story where it's going to be different than other shows or stories. Like something huge is going to happen. Like they're going to just change the course of everything you know so far. That's the feeling I have.
It feels like that. It's cool talking about a show of a game that you played or a book that you've read or something like that. It's cool to see how they approach it.
I believe they're referencing The Last of Us season 2. I believe they're also calling it part 2. From an article I just pulled up, I
The
believe
game was called Part 2, right?
Yeah, that might be the game they're referencing, Scott.
one of the creators or writers, Craig Mazin, said that we don't think that we're going to be able to tell the story even within 2 seasons, 2 and 3, because we're taking our time and going down interesting pathways, which we did a little bit with season 1, 2. We feel like it's almost assuredly going to be the case that as long as people keep watching and we keep making more television, season 3 will be significantly larger, and indeed the story may require a season 4.
Okay. Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, so he's saying, I'm not sure if he's implying that The Last of Us Part 2 would take up 3 seasons to tell that story. I don't think that's necessary, but there's certainly always, if there's more money and more viewers, they'll make more content.
And
Yeah,
according to this,
it sounds like they're not in a rush to wrap this up. Like they can take 2 years between seasons.
Yeah, I mean, look, if they're looking for content, like we were talking about before, there's a 5-year gap between season 1 and season 2, so they can just milk those 5 years for material if they really want it. They can just mine that stuff.
on April 9th, in continuation to confirm about there being a season 3, Warner Brothers Discovery, which of course owns HBO and Max, this also Craig Mazin, who's the creator, executive producer, writer, and director, wrote in quotes, "We look forward to continuing the story of The Last of Us with season 3." So they've already confirmed that season 3 is a real thing.
Okay, yeah, that's great. So I guess they will split this one into 2. Maybe, I don't know.
Do you think they're gonna have some CG giraffes in season 3?
No CG giraffes in season 3.
I think they're gonna maybe they had some leftover scenes from the White Lotus, so maybe incorporate some monkeys.
They did the monkeys in season 1, I think.
Well, I think they can use some cutting room floor scenes. They can use some monkey shots that they have.
I'm just thinking if it's less expensive to just rent 3 giraffes and put them in front of a green screen than make a whole scene of CG giraffes. That seems kind of unnecessary to me.
It's who said there's giraffes?
That's that's the last scene in the series finale of season 1 and the first scene of the season premiere of season 2.
No.
Ellie looking at giraffes.
Yeah, there's a shot. There was a shot in the premiere where there's a giraffe that like crosses the foreground of the camera, and then you see these Abby and her friends in the background. And yeah, I was like, did they get a real giraffe and then superimpose it over the frame? Technically I was thinking like how they might have done that, but with video production there's a million different approaches to any one creative problem or solution. So but yeah, great show. Really good, interesting characters with complex problems, and I feel like there's tons of beef on the horizon, like imminently. I wouldn't be surprised if things go haywire in the next episode, honestly. So we'll see. Pedro, you mentioned you wanted to talk about the China film market banning some. No.
Right there.
Okay.
Nah, it's on the chat. We were talking about that on the chat. I don't know if you have the chat open. We just said We said
Then
pass
no.
for that. Yeah.
Okay. Should we go to Black Mirror?
Yeah.
Black Mirror's back. I didn't know it was back until you mentioned it in the chat, though.
Yeah, I stumbled upon the trailer for it, and the trailer looked great. There's like seen a bunch of faces of actors I knew, big name actors.
Big
I'm
name.
like, wow, this is a star-studded season. So yeah, this was the other big premiere of the week. Black Mirror season 7.
I do remember seeing the trailer a while back, but I had kind of forgot about it. So I was pumped to watch it because you texted us like the day it dropped or right after the next day. Here's my feeling on the show. The series has been on the air for over 10 years, kind of on and off. They kind of make them when they can, I guess, but it's been going downhill for a while. I don't know if you agree with that sentiment, Pedro, but I feel like after season 4, it's been a steady dip in form.
I'll say this. I wanna commend them for keeping a show like this going and actually reaching 7 seasons. This was a show that when it first came out way back when now, Scott, if you want to pull up the actual year it came out, I think it was 2014 or 15. You saw that first season.
You think I don't have it up yet?
What year was it?
December 2011.
Oh, wow. That's even further back than I thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, you saw that first season and you just thought it was just like a one-off, like, one season anthology type show.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, kudos to them for keeping it going and bringing more strange and weird, disgusting stories out. I never kept up with the series like that just because I got to be in like a certain mood to watch this kind of stuff. It's kind of like what Paul would refer to as like those torture porn movies.
A little bit, yeah.
Where it's just like nonstop gore, but this is like just nonstop making you like cringy and uncomfortable on the subject matter. So I saw like the first couple of episodes of season 1 and I never followed up with it. But like I said, the trailer caught my attention.
Hold up. You watched season 1 and then you dropped out until season 7?
Hold on.
I do stuff like that.
Hold on.
Damn.
That must be that's almost illegal. How do you jump from season 1 to season 7?
I mean, it's an anthology.
There's no interconnected storyline, so you could just watch episodes at random. So I have the ability to do that.
But I'm looking at the episode list. It seems like season 1 had 3 episodes, season 2 had 3 episodes, season 3, 4 had 6 episodes, 5 had 3. So these are regular, length episodes. You can get through these rather quickly.
I probably will after this one. It's kind of like got me in the mood for more. So probably after I finish this season, I'll go back and watch some more. But how many episodes are in this season? I feel like from the trailer, this looks like it's gonna have a lot more episodes than the other ones.
Yeah,
there's just so many.
It looks like there's what I see here. It looks like there's 6. I think
that's not bad.
Yeah, there's 6. They usually keep pretty.
I'm a supporter of series that keep it short seasons. I'm a supporter of that.
You're a supporter of nothing more, nothing less of 6. 6 is just it's a lovely even number.
Just give me what I need. Don't introduce characters I don't need to.
None of this not too much backstory.
Yeah, I would recommend like go out, don't even finish, or maybe finish season 7.
Yeah, I'm into this.
Go back to 3. You'll notice a significant shift in just quality.
I'm sure of it. Yeah, I'm sure of it. But yeah, I'll stick with season 7 because I really liked the first episode. I thought it's they're hitting on a current touchy subject, so if I'm looking forward to other episodes being pertinent about current events and stuff happening right now. But I thought this was a very clever way of critiquing the subscription platform that every company is rolling out now.
So I want to do two things. I want to talk about this episode, see what you thought of it, and then I want to sort of just give a little take on the series as a whole. Scott, did you get a chance to watch the first episode of the show?
I did not. I'm just learning about this as we're talking about this, that most of this, well, it has had more time on Netflix than it had on Channel 4, or I guess, or BBC.
Yeah.
It's a Netflix series now. It's officially a Netflix series.
So, yeah, Black Mirror is basically a series that presents an alternate reality to ours. It's usually like cautionary tales about technology and just society in general.
Yeah.
So this episode, to your point, it focuses on husband and wife who are kind of like middle to lower class, kind of paycheck to paycheck kind of folks. The wife suddenly passes away. She's a teacher with a brain tumor. And then the husband's
a construction worker.
He's a construction worker, and he is offered a plan or a surgery that will basically like recover all the wife's memories, put it in some sort of implant, and then she'll be able to live as long as she's in, a T-Mobile type service area. She'll be able to live. And
the whole way that implant works is it's connected to servers. So it's online.
It's all online. And it's basically like the way they hook you here. It's like the operation's free, but then there's a subscription. And thematically, it talks about these subscription models and how we have become beholden to them, and how shifty companies like Netflix, for one, who's actually the content provider for this, how they kind of shift their services from one day to the next, whether it's like for $10, you get ads now, where it used to be no ads, and now you don't get HD anymore. And now HD is part of like the upgrade plan. So they kind of mess with this person and treat her as, as the product.
Subscriber.
Subscriber.
As a product. And it just, they sell you one thing, and at the drop of a dime, without any consideration, they'll just change it on you, because we're living in an era of subscription services where you don't physically own the product. You pay for it's almost a rental fee, right? With everything we subscribe to. And it's all in the agreement that you have to sign off for before you create an account. And it's just, we see it happening all the time and everything. The most common thing is, the entertainment and media that we stream, whether it's Hulu, Disney Plus, Netflix, Amazon Prime, just the constant baiting and switching back and forth and between what you paid for initially, what you subscribe to, and what they change it and turn it into. In this episode, when they went to get the surgery done, they weren't told anything about it. They knew it was a monthly fee. They didn't know it was a subscription service type thing where they're going to introduce new tiers, higher tiers. They're going to introduce ads to the basic tier, and then they're going to change that from basic to common, and then there's going to be a basic and a higher tier and higher than that.
Yeah, they're basically they begin running ads through her without her even realizing. So she'll be having a conversation about, her coworker having a headache, and then suddenly she'll spill out a verbal ad for like Tylenol or something into the conversation. They do make it a point, of, in terms of messaging, the corporation in this point, which is represented by a person that they talk to, calls the ads messages. And they make it a point to say these are not messages, these are ads. And it just speaks to like the corporate bullshit lingo that we're getting fed all the time. There's another side to this, which is how powerless we are as consumers, how expensive healthcare costs can be, how exposed we are to ads. But there's another product introduced, which is like an OnlyFans, but it's for, like, how would you describe it? It's like you sign up for the site to earn money, and then you have to do kind of like grotesque things to yourself.
It's a site for desperate people who need money to just host live webcam footage of them taking requests from viewers,
Strangers,
doing anything for money,
like
basically
drinking urine, putting a rat trap in your tongue, violent, disgusting, loathsome things for $50, and that's what this man is ultimately reduced to
in order to keep paying for this service for to keep his wife alive.
Luckily, this doesn't sound like something that a platform doesn't exist, and hopefully it will continue to be that way.
No, I had that conversation with my wife. I'm pretty sure that doesn't exist. Not in the States. Not yet, anyway.
Like Bruno mentioned, like this show's overarching theme is, a critique of society and technology and where it's heading. And like things like this may not necessarily exist at the moment, but we have the foundation for it. Like we have, like you said, OnlyFans pages. Mm-hmm. We have, these implant companies that are starting to come out, like Neuralink and stuff like that. And it's like, well, what's to say that it doesn't start one way and ends up as a completely different product, like we see with our viewer subscription services. So in reality, the baseline, the foundation is there for all these takes and all these stories to actually happen. It's just a matter of how evil can society get.
So what happens if accidentally the payment method expires? So what happens to her if
she basically gets turned off until he can afford to reactivate her?
Yeah, they cut off your service. That's why I mentioned it was important to mention that it's connected to a server.
Yeah. But her character just begins to deteriorate. They keep upgrading the plans, and it's never enough. They can never afford it, and their lives just kind of fall apart. Not, spoiling it. Ultimately, he ends up killing her at her request because she just doesn't want to live in these circumstances anymore. And I think the last shot is of him going to the basement to go do another session on that Dumb Dummies website, which it's a very dark.
At that point, he was left without a job because of the accident that happened due to his taking part in this website and people at his job finding out, and it led to an accident at the workplace that got him fired. So this whole thing just ruined his life. It just went from one thing to another.
Yeah, and I think it points to this idea that a lot of people in this country live paycheck to paycheck. There's always that. I think it's that Bernie Sanders soundbite that's like, some people in this country are like a $600 emergency from being completely poor or something. And this speaks directly to that, because when you meet this couple, they are trying to have a baby. They're happy as hell. They clearly love one another. She's a teacher who enjoys her job. He's a well-respected guy at his work. And she just happens to have a brain tumor, which is, replace brain tumor with anything that, a broken leg, a heart attack, whatever, a number of ailments that just maybe happen to you. And then financially you're at extreme risk of poverty. And so it just speaks to the lens of what people might be able to do, how corporations might take advantage of that. Again, like to your point, Pedro, like that's not the society we live in, but it could be a reflection of a potential alternate reality that isn't that far off from ours. That's what the show has always done a good job of, is taking like an idea or this piece of technology and kind of zagging with it, saying, what if this happened instead? Good episode. So I watched the following 2 episodes as well. The next one is, I would argue it's better, but the ending kind of falls apart. And then the third one, I literally fell asleep watching. I thought it was pretty bad.
Are they as dark or less dark, or?
The next one's pretty dark. But it's, I guess, like, here's my problem with modern Black Mirror. It doesn't have the same gut punch as it did before. Episodes like The Entire History of You or Nosedive or Metalhead, Hang the DJ, these are like high concept episodes that you can see, oh, if we had that technology, it would ruin us as individuals. We would be ruined. But I feel like the entire construct of each of these plots was just so tight that you just walk away like, holy cow. And the new seasons haven't really had that same feeling. And I think it's just because it's just hard to take these individual subjects and analyze them in this way and then reflect them back on society in a very polished, finished story. But you should go back and watch season 2 if you haven't, because I don't think they'll feel dated in any way.
Not at all. These are like evergreen almost at this point.
They're pretty evergreen. I thought they were going to go into like the generative AI concept in season 3. They haven't yet, which is interesting.
You mean season 7?
In season 7, yeah. Because they tend to do, they did smartphones, they did dating apps, they did like, a lot of different subjects.
That sounds like a subject that's coming. So
I would think it's coming.
Be on the lookout for that one.
Yeah, it's really high concept stuff. Like, what if you died and there was a technology that can allow you to revisit all your favorite memories? Like, that's cool, right? Like, how cool? But that can also be dark potentially. So
yeah,
they explore those ideas. Yeah,
the dark side of technology.
They have one, I think it's called The History of You. It's basically where you wear like a contact lens and it's always recording. So you're constantly recording. So this couple goes on a dinner date and one of the guys there is the wife's ex-boyfriend. Now imagine this guy becomes obsessed and he's over there analyzing every single frame of where she was looking, and they became completely obsessed. So it takes these cool ideas.
And we have Meta Ray-Bans now, so.
So there you go. Yeah, check out The Entire History of You, Nosedive, Metalhead is dark as hell. It's black and white. And Hang the DJ. Hang the DJ's DJ is dope.
It's almost like a modern day Twilight Zone, the anthology style.
Totally.
One thing while watching the first episode of season 7 that kept coming to mind is some quotes. Like the quote, if something is free, if you didn't pay for it, you are the product. That quote just kept resonating in my head during this whole thing.
Yeah. Facebook, Google Maps, all those things are free. Just data harvesting.
Yeah. Another thing, another quote that came to mind is, "You will own nothing and be happy." All quotes that just were floating around my head and just resurfaced while watching this. And funny thing also, when I turned my Roku player on to watch this, I finally got those instant ads when you actually turn on the player itself. I know Scott, you brought that up. Yeah, you brought that up.
I saw that too.
A few episodes back. And I was like, oh, I'm just happy it hasn't hit me yet. And funny enough, upon viewing this right before that, I got hit with that. It's not as bad as I thought. It doesn't take up your like whole screen. It's not something you can't skip. But
not yet.
It's not yet. They'll up the tier up.
The ad was so short, I didn't even have enough time to figure out which button I had to press to stop it.
Usually the OK button is like lets you skip things or go ahead, but yeah, It's just, this is the level we're getting to things. You can't even turn on the physical item you bought without it running an ad immediately before you even play anything.
Just to walk it through, so you turn on the Roku app to watch something, and the first thing that
once you hit the home screen button, once you're on the home screen, which is the screen you have to be on to enter an app, it just bubble just pops up and ad plays.
Okay, yeah, that's tough. Okay, anything else on Black Mirror? We can discuss the other episodes next week if we finish them up. I'm gonna watch them this week. Scott, I would love for you to watch a little Black Mirror. It doesn't even need to be, just pick an episode. I want to get your take on it.
I will not pull a Pedro. I'm going to judge it straight from the top, just to see what the original episode was like. Do you recommend that, or should
if you watch season 1, episode 1? Yeah, you're taking a deep dive right away.
Yeah, watch the first 3.
Okay.
I'm trying to see what the second one is. Yeah, the national anthem. I remember that.
That's like being thrown into the fire right away. That's probably that's like the darkest one I can remember.
Here's one other thing I want to say about the series. Like, to your point, when I saw the trailer, I saw a lot of familiar faces and household names that I recognized, and I didn't really like that. I feel like that distracts from this type of storytelling. This is not like a vehicle for that should have like Rashida Jones, even though she was great, or like
Paul Giamatti's in the episode I saw.
Yeah, I like this. It used to be a vehicle for up and coming stars. So if you go back to the early episodes,
like Daniel Kaluuya, right, was in
and the chick that
second episode.
He was in the second or third episode. He was in season 1. But as you watch the episodes, the older ones, you're going to see a bunch of people that are now famous.
Okay.
But to lead with these, some of these people won Oscars, like Giamatti. To me, it's just like, it's a little bit distracting when I...
You know what, though? That thought did occur to me. And I'm thinking, maybe this show's been running for so long and like it's just people have lost interest, that this is their way of getting eyes on it again,
Maybe, yeah, it could be. What I am excited for is the sequel to USS Callister, which was, I think, a season 5 or season 6 banger. Like, that's one of the best episodes that they've ever put out. And they're making a sequel to that one. That one was insanely dark and just tough to watch. So recommend that. Anything else you guys want to touch on this week? Pedro, I don't know if you know, but SNL UK is going to be a thing.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
and I'm not into British dry humor, so I probably won't be getting too excited about it.
I don't think is all
pull your mic back a little bit though.
Hello, is this better? Is all UK humor dry, Pedro? You I don't know if that's
no, not all of that. I shouldn't have jumped to that conclusion. But the second you said SNL UK,
it's hard to know what they're gonna do, because like the American SNL is the humor is very broad because they have to appeal to like New York City and the
American
Midwest
audience
and everybody. Yeah. So I'm curious what they'll do with the UK. I'm excited to see it. I think it's gonna fail after 2 years.
I think that quite a bit of SNL can feel quite dry. The humor is not completely for me.
I thought you were a big fan.
I watch it on a weekly basis, but it feels like I'm not quite sure. I don't really laugh from watching it. The Jack Black episode recently, that was a nice surprise. I think it was just Jack Black was the funny.
Mm-hmm. He has a lot of energy.
Yeah, he brought the funny energy. I don't know whether the skit was funny or not. It's just him. He can fill in an hour. And
I'll recommend the John Hamm episode from this last week. Just do what I do. Just watch a couple of the clips on YouTube. That's all you need. I laughed out loud.
You gotta watch, but I record it I like watching it from beginning to end. You don't get that feeling of it if you're just watching it as a clip.
Yes, you do. Because
Not
it's segmented.
right, but it's not the feeling. It's Saturday Night Live, not Saturday night. Oh, by the way, I'm watching it on Monday afternoon. And here's a clip of it, and you have no.
Didn't you
concept
just
of
say
where
you
I'm here.
recorded?
Right, but I record it and watch it as if I'm watching it live from beginning to end with the
All right,
commercials.
so
and
you get
why they-
in the mood. You get in the mood and everything.
and why and who appeared in what skit and when and who's in this, the behind the scenes thing, like who is in more skits than others. You get the
With
feel
that
that behind the scenes,
salted and sweet popcorn, that Pedro popcorn. All right, guys, we'll leave it there.
Guys, before we leave, I just want to say, keep tuning into the show. We're still in April. April's a heavy month. There's a lot of premieres still to come that we'll be covering.
Yes, sir.
Max has a lot of stuff coming out.
I do want to recommend The Studio on Apple TV. Dude, I think
You kept watching that, right?
it was slow. Like I went after a while. I went back. See, episode 2 is absolutely bananas. Like I actually ended up rewinding like 15 minutes back just to like laugh again. It's like every episode, it's like completely separate from the whole thing. It's like its own little.
Okay.
It's like, so episode 2 is like he goes on set and they're trying to get one shot and he keeps fucking it up. And then the next episode is like one of the directors, one of the reels from one of the movies he's making goes missing, and they're just trying to figure out who the hell stole the reel. So they're all kind of isolated, like 25-minute comedies, but it's fucking funny, man. They're good. We'll leave it there. We'll be back next week. Come hang out, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Peace.